Welcome, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it may be, whatever time it may be in your neck of the woods. So today we're going to be talking about getting unstuck and breaking through. For those of you who don't really know who I am, I help people all over the world to convert the life they have right now that perhaps is either displeasing them or is due for an upgrade into the life that they desire. And I do that through teaching, speaking, coaching and mentoring, and also writing. I'm currently writing my first official book. I'm a British-born Greek Cypriot, and I now live in Goa, India. And for those of you who don't know the story, I'll give you a very quick insight. I left the UK about 4 or 5 years ago when I felt I was due for my next upgrade. Things were actually going okay in life, but you know when you get to a point where you feel like you've outgrown what currently is, and we're going to talk more about that. And I also talk more about this in my previous webinar, which if you drop me an email, I can send you the link for that. So I now live in tropical Goa, where it's never really winter, and I can combine my working life, doing what I do, helping people around the world, both from my base here and also international travel, with the freedom-based lifestyle that I love, tropical beaches, and also raising my 2 teenagers. Let's get stuck in, shall we? It's clear that the fact that you're here, taking time out, whether you're joining me live or on the replay, that something in your life currently is not going so well. That something in your life at the moment is not looking or feeling like the way that you want it to. This image I feel is quite apt because I know a lot of you out there, excuse me, recently have experienced a lot of adverse weather. And yeah, the snow came, and I know a lot of you struggled with that. And that can be sometimes what happens to us in life. We'll experience results that do not match not only what we want, but also the amount of effort we've been putting in. Because oftentimes we're in it, aren't we? We are committed and dedicated. But then when things don't go in a way that pleases us, but also that allows us to feel a sense of comfort and ease and success, we then slip into extended periods of struggle and suffering. Can you think of an occurrence that happened in your past, excuse me, where you'd sort of ticked all the boxes and you'd really done all that you thought you were supposed to do, yet you came up against these blocks? Something that was not in the plan. Maybe it caught you by surprise. Maybe it even floored you. And you didn't know why. See, when we don't know why circumstances are unfolding in a certain way, we can get confused. And then with confusion comes the overwhelm, and then comes the fear. And then, of course, if we get to a point where we've really put our all in and things still are not thriving, we are still not thriving, we sometimes feel, well, what's the point? Why do I bother? I may as well go back to what I was doing. Have you ever had those kinds of thoughts? I know that I have many times. When we are facing a roadblock, like the one in the picture right now, we often reach for the most comfortable thought or idea, and that can be, I'll go back to what I know does work, even if we didn't like it. Maybe it's an old job, an old career, maybe even an old relationship. So delayed results, if you notice the word delayed, they don't mean that they are impossible results or that the results are never coming. So what if we could begin to see being stuck or results not emerging or materializing in the timing that we were hoping for? What if we could begin to see that not as a dead end, not as impossible in the grand scheme of things, but what if we could see that for actually what it was, a simple delay? And just like this gorgeous guy in the picture, he's grabbed his shovel and he's getting stuck in, and he's going to remove his block. When things are not going the way that we wanted them to go, when they are not moving at the speed that we wanted them to move at, when we are not reaping the rewards that we know match the level of input and dedication and hard work that we have been applying, now only you know where that fits, what level that fits at, how much you've been dedicating. But in any case, the fact that you're here once again indicates that you've been trying to achieve something. It hasn't been going so well. You've obviously done something in order to get things in motion. So whatever the extent of your dedication and focus and time application, when things haven't gone the way that we wanted them to go, not only can we feel fearful, we can also move very quickly into a state of guilt and shame. And we can ask ourselves questions like, what's wrong with me? Maybe I'm overreaching. Maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this. You feel guilty because perhaps we haven't given enough time, or perhaps we're torn because we've got other responsibilities as well, like a family or a day job. You know, if you're building or creating something that's passion-based, that you're not yet able to give your full attention and time to, it can bring up a lot of unsettling emotions. We worry. We start to doubt ourselves. And I'm sure you already know how detrimental the emotion of doubt can be. In order to move forward strongly, we must develop unwavering self-belief. But how can we believe in ourselves when what we've been doing, and perhaps for a very long time, has just sent us round and round in circles? As I said, there must be something wrong with me. We feel undeserving, not to mention exhausted. Anyone out there feel exhausted sometimes with the whole shebang of trying to keep going? You know, it can be freaking exhausting. And then what happens is we play it safe. Opportunities may arise, opportunities may be offered to us, but then we're tainted with the past experiences that we've had of not achieving, not succeeding, feeling as though, what's the point in aiming higher, since every time I do that, I fall in a heap on the floor? It's not a fun place to be, guys, is it? So we end up only aiming, say, 25, 50%. We sort of dance around inside of the parameters of our comfort zone. And I don't blame you. I've done it too. Nobody wants to keep being rejected or disappointed or feeling guilty or shameful or worry. No one wants to feel exhausted. So we play it safe and we play it small, because that is what we are wired for. You know, our mental systems are very outdated, very primitive. And the main focus and intention is to keep us safe. Keep us safe. That's all the programming is interested in. It's not interested in you rising up to the next level in life, love, business, finances, health. So it's really important that we be aware of this outdated programming that we are all running on. Our programming sees danger. We misconstrue that danger based on our previous experiences, because we've got the evidence, right? We failed last time, or we lost money when we invested last time, or we didn't make the right decision when we went to sign up for a training course, whatever. So then that puts us on the verge of giving up. Everything coupled together: guilt, shame, worry, self-doubt, fear, exhaustion, playing it safe, feeling alone and broken. I'm sure you've shed a few tears in your past. I'm not exempt from that. In frustration, when you've been showing up as best as you could, yet still, not even as best as you could, you've surmounted that, you've overcome that, you've broken through your best, and you've done even more, you've gone even higher than that, yet still things haven't quite manifested in the way that you know they can. Let's be clear here. It's not just about a desire. Sometimes it's also about a knowing, isn't it? A deep, pure, strong sense of knowing that that thing, that outcome that circumstance that I'm coveting is meant for me. I'm born for it. So it's hardly a surprise when we get confused, when we have this knowing in one sense, and then in another sense, we're not getting any closer to the outcome. So, moving forward, what can we do? I'm all about understanding, acknowledging, and honoring what has been happening. But I'm even more about positive, forward, moving momentum. I want to know what is going to get us from where we are right now to where we want to be. And for each of us, it will be very unique and different. So as you're listening, allow yourself to sort of weave in what I'm saying to you, excuse me, with your current situation and circumstance. As I said, what each of us is experiencing is as unique as we are, and that's the beauty of it. So there's no real generic set of tips and tools that I can give, but what I can give are hints and truths and some teachings that you can merge together with what you are going through right now, and then begin to piece together your next steps. So what do we need to do after the feeling broken and alone, after the fear and the struggle and the suffering that we allow ourselves to endure? We need to get strong. That does not mean that the circumstances that life will provide us with once we get strong will always be easy. That doesn't mean that we will never again face adverse circumstances. That doesn't mean that we will never ever again feel blocked or even be blocked. Doesn't mean any of that. What it means is that you are going to be showing up to life in general, the good, the bad, the ups, the downs, the ins and outs, including those periods of time where you're confused, overwhelmed, blocked, in fear, anxiety, feeling guilty, all of those things. You're going to be showing up as a more aligned version of you, aligned with where you want to go rather than where you have been. And when we develop ourselves in such a way that we are a good fit and a good match, a perfect fit and a perfect match actually, for what we want to create, build and attract for ourselves moving forward, whatever that may be, then we have the strength, the resolve, the emotional intelligence, the mindset, and also the people around us who can support us and point out to us when we are allowing our lower mind to lead the way. When we have all of those things in place, the journey of upgrading will no longer feel so lonely, will no longer feel so struggle-laden. Our days will be less confusing and less filled with fear and panic. yes, there will be still stuff to deal with. It's a given. We are evolutionary beings who are on a continuous upgrade journey. It is not a one-time thing, and it's not a one weekend thing. You know, a lot of times we'll go to a seminar for a weekend and we're like, yeah, I'm gonna break through this weekend and my life is gonna be amazing on Monday. How often does that not happen? It doesn't happen because it's a long-term process. The transformations that need to occur within us are multi-leveled and multi-layered. You, as a human being, are multi-leveled and multi-layered, and we are made up of, just to name a few, our thoughts, our beliefs, our emotions, what we consume, whether it be food and drink or through media, news, the people that we spend time with, and also our past experiences. Those are the big ones that can really show up in our experiences when we are on a specific journey to deliberately create the next phase of our life. They can show up, especially if they are unresolved, especially if they have really left a huge impact, like a huge scar on us, and they don't have to have been monumentous occurrences back then. They can be something quite simple, actually, that we barely would have imagined could impact us so greatly and block us so strongly today. So, yeah, our inner stuff is something that is important to address. Now, I will preface this by saying we are not in it to hang out in the past indefinitely. Dealing with the inner stuff, like I just described, a past wound, you know, it could be a financial loss, it could be a breakup, it could be something from childhood. It could be a fear that you have no idea where it came from. But whatever it may be, dealing with the inner stuff does not have to take up an indefinite period of time in your life before you can move forward. Some people will disagree with that, and that's up to them. I want to share with you what I know to be true. It is possible for you to deal with your inner stuff and move forward positively and swiftly simultaneously. It is possible for that to happen. Living here in India, I see a lot of people going off to spend extended periods of time in an ashram or spend time with the gurus and kind of just cut off from life. There are a lot of retreats that happen in this area where I'm currently living. And I also have run retreats over the years in the past too. So I see the value, and oftentimes for some of us, the necessity in sort of tapping out from life and sort of, retreating for a while to provide ourselves with a conducive space for healing, understanding, rewiring, shedding, clearing, and releasing. It's necessary sometimes. But what we don't want to do, guys, is put our upgrade journey on pause because we're dealing with our inner stuff. The amount of times I've watched people, let go of their dreams, ignore their visions, put aside their desires, and box up their urges towards something better because they don't feel as though they're ready. And this is a lie that has been fed to us by many different schools of thought. It's a lie that you're broken or blocked or suffering or fearful or whatever, which means you cannot move forward. So dealing with your inner stuff is important, but it can happen simultaneously. And I do it for my clients all around the world. We do not separate our, our sort of periods of sessions into clearing the blocks and upgrading. It happens all at the same time. And also, I have come to strongly believe from experience with myself and coaching clients all around the world that it is within the action phase that we are then able to receive important feedback and information and messages as to where our blocks are actually laying. I'll say that again because it's really important. It is through the action phase, so going out and actually taking action, whether it's applying for a job or sending an email, raising your prices in your business, for example, starting a new relationship, whatever it may be. It is in those actions that we are provided with really important feedback as to where we need to go back inside and understand and rewire and revamp, basically, the system that we are currently working on. So it's important that we get support during this strengthening phase. Absolutely paramount, because in the moments where we have no strength left, we need someone to prop us up. Because if we're not feeling strong ourselves, what happens? I'm going to go back in a minute. We end up feeling shameful and guilty. We end up worrying. We end up doubting ourselves, feeling like we don't deserve. We allow exhaustion to get in the way. We play it safe and small. And then what happens? We're either on the verge of giving up or we do give up. So having support and someone who really believes in you is the most important thing. In fact, it's at the top of the list, because in the moments when we're exhausted and we want to give up, that person will prop you back up until you regain your strength. That person will remind you of why you are doing this in the first place. Because when we're exhausted, when we're feeling heightened negative emotions, all we really want to do is climb into bed, snuggle under the duvet, and tap out from life. And that can happen sometimes. Sometimes it's okay to allow ourselves to just feel what we're feeling. I'm all for that. However, if we succumb to that pattern, which, as I said previously, is very intertwined with an extremely outdated and primal programming that we are running on, which is designed to keep us safe. But safe from what? Really, do you really need to be kept safe from your bigger vision? Do you really need to be kept safe from your dream? If your vision and dream and desires are coming from that pure sacred place inside of you, then you need to be propelled in the direction of them, not kept far back behind a wall. this is a big topic, by the way, and I really am eager to ensure that you're fully understanding, and that's not me saying you don't understand. But if some of this doesn't make sense to you, or if you want to get more, sort of, pad this understanding out even more, jump back to the previous webinar that I taught last week. And again, reach out to me if you haven't got access to that, and I will put you in the right direction. So we need to then, once we've got support, create systems and strategies for ourselves that basically leave no room for ambiguity. Systems and strategies and plans, and sometimes in the early days, it requires a certain level of rigidity, a certain level of focused commitment, creating parameters within our current life that allow for the days, excuse me, where we don't feel so motivated, that allow for the periods of time in the year where it's extra busy, perhaps because of a holiday or a birthday. We need to create systems and strategies and clear boundaries and parameters that will ensure that we are continuously, on a regular basis, taking actions that are going to move us closer to where we want to be, and also create and convert continuously our inner state of being so that it is in support of who we need to be in order to get to where we want to go, and also who we want to be. Because if we want a certain lifestyle, we must first make peace with the person we have to be in order to live that lifestyle. If we want to meet a certain set of goals, we must first fall in love with the person that we need to be in order to meet those goals. If we want to run a marathon, we must first be okay and accept that we're going to need to do quite a bit of training. So systems and strategies leave no room for error. And for you, it could be that you set aside time every day, or 3 times or 4 times a week, to go work out in the gym. If your goals, your desires are to have a vibrant, energetic, healthy body, then one of your actions, one of the systems that you put in place, and when I say systems and strategies, I mean it goes in the calendar. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 6 p.m., for example. And that is almost set in stone in your calendar for the length of time that you have decided it should be. And getting strong means that you are unwavering in your resolve to carry out those workouts no matter what happens. If you have to change the time, okay. If you have to change the day, okay. But you will have to exercise judgment, critical judgment, as to what is important to you and requires flexibility with your systems and strategies, and what does not. For example, if it's your child's recital that clashes with your Monday evening gym session, then you may want to switch things around so that you can attend the recital. But if it's a party or a dinner of people actually that you don't really like to spend time with, but you've been spending time with them for as long as you can remember because it just became a habit, then maybe there's a little soul searching that has to happen there. Creating systems and strategies requires a bit of ruthlessness as well, sort of cutting out and decluttering anything that could get in your way. And training your mind. Your mind is the hub of everything. If it's weak in your mind, it'll be weak in your reality. If it's a belief that you keep thinking in your mind, then you will see it show up in that same format in its manifested physical form in your real life. So mind over matter, you've heard that before, right? That term. It is absolutely spot on. So training your mind will happen over a period of time. It's not something, like I said, that will happen in one day. So again, creating systems and strategies that include mind training. You could call it mindset, you could call it belief work, call it what you will, but it's been proven that our brains are almost, they're reshapeable, they're remoldable. If you go and research neuroplasticity, it's possible to, even if you have a very deeply entrenched belief, fear or worry or expectation, it's absolutely possible for you to change that. Meditation is also a very powerful and supportive activity that can be done as an umbrella for all of these suggestions. So let's get to the juicy stuff. What does it take to break through? What does it take to break through? Some of us believe, and I have to admit, sometime in the past I have too, that it takes the planets to align so that we can break through. It takes somebody else outside of us to do something so that we can break through. It takes a change of a season, perhaps, and then I'll break through. Maybe we've been relinquishing our personal power to those ideas, though. And the fact that you're here listening to this shows me that you're ready to change that. So what does it take to break through? It takes a decision. That's the first step. And again, you being here today shows me that you are on the verge of making that decision, that you want to break through. So you're very close. And then, of course, we must take action. Because while I am a huge supporter and a big teacher of the laws of the universe, the law of attraction being one of them, where we ask, believe, and receive, that alone will not get you anywhere. We must take action. And as I said several times, I teach about the different types of action in my previous webinar. And if you haven't yet watched that, I do recommend that you do, because if anything, you'll get to deeper understand the different types of action so that you can apply yourself with focus, energy, and time more accurately as you move forward. So when we take action, we don't always get the results that we want or that we expect or that we think that we deserve sometimes. But what will happen, as long as we're taking action that is directly related to our desire or vision or goal or dream, that it will get us at least one step closer. Okay. So we're talking about big pieces of action, but we're also talking about those little pieces of action that are repetitive, that you have to do freaking every day. Perhaps we get bored, perhaps we get tired, perhaps we get fed up of trying to juggle life because we've got to go to the gym 3 times a week, or 4 times a week even. So it requires stamina. No matter where you're placing your time, energy, and focus. So, relentless repetition is something that is real. And I want to speak about this very honestly. It often happens that we fall back into a kind of resentful teenage state of being when we've got to do something that we probably don't feel like doing on that day. Maybe it's cold outside, so we don't feel like going for a run. Maybe we had a rejection or a disappointment in our business, and we don't want to go into work today. Maybe we feel shameful, maybe we feel guilty, maybe we feel like quitting. It requires relentless repetition, regardless of the external potential blocks and obstacles, regardless of the inner ones too, the ones that we place on ourselves. You know, sometimes we, as I said, we get resentful. Why do I have to do this? Why can't I just have, you know, a fit, healthy body like so-and-so down the road? We look around us and we compare, and then we get a bit disgruntled, and we allow ourselves to fall into this kind of victim mindset. What we have to do in those moments is snap ourselves back into why we are doing this in the first place. Reminding ourselves of the results that we want. Reminding ourselves of the entire big picture that we are moving towards. So, relentless repetition is not easy, but it's doable. And understanding that we're in this for the long haul. So finding a way to comfort ourselves within this big space of uncomfortability. Discomfort is often going to send us into sort of slacking off, taking a day off, using, you know, 1,000,001 excuses to back up why we couldn't or shouldn't in that day. Breaking through is not just a one-time thing. Okay. If we, as I said before, earlier on in the session, if all we needed was to break through in one weekend or even 1 week, we'd probably all be, you know, sort of thriving and soaring and flying high at the moment. But it's not a one-time thing. It takes laser focus, relentless repetition, and it takes understanding and accepting that it's a process and a journey. So we have to be laser focused on our goals. We have to keep our eye on the prize, but then we sometimes have to be flexible in our execution. So for example, if you set yourself the goal of 3 gym workouts a week and you've got your kids' recital on the Monday at the same time, then shifting your workout for that week from Monday to Tuesday would allow you the flexibility to stay focused on your goals, stay committed to your actions, and not get all stressed and bound up and then quit that day of execution. So being laser focused on your goals is highly important, but being flexible in your execution is important, because life will not always be uniform. Life will not always be providing you with the most conducive circumstances in order for you to show up, you know, hopping and skipping, you know, in easy flow and high vibing. It's not always going to be that way. So being flexible, just like the trees, you can see the trees in the background here. I had no idea how bendy and flexible these types of palm trees are until I moved to Goa, and they're everywhere here and they're beautiful, but they're so thin. Growing up in the UK, we were surrounded by some gorgeous, big, thick trees. But what I would notice is every time we had severe weather conditions, those trees, a lot of them would sort of topple and break. And you think, how on earth can something so big and strong and cumbersome break? It's just unfathomable. But in Goa, every year there is an extreme monsoon season which brings gale force winds and relentless rains, yet you hardly ever see any of these flexible, beautiful, long trees damaged. So flexibility will protect you from the adverse effects of life. There's always more than one way to do something. So seek multiple methods. If one way ceases to work, then explore other methods and be flexible in your execution. And it's important to celebrate the mini upgrades. Every day that you show up in focused, deliberate creation mode for your desired upgrade, you will absolutely nail a mini upgrade, whether it's a belief that you're shifting, whether it's the fact that you showed up to that gym workout regardless of the clashing times and you still did 3 in that week. Those are things that you have to celebrate. And I'm not saying go and celebrate with a bottle of wine. Celebrate to yourself quietly. Become your own cheerleader. Turning problems into opportunities. Absolutely paramount. When there's a problem, there is always an opportunity for growth. There is always an opportunity for a new lesson to be learned and for another layer of yourself to be peeled back, revealing the next aligned version of you, whether it's in mind, in body, in spirit, in emotions. When we show up for our assignments with grace and we learn with gratitude, we're constantly growing, and that's what it takes. It takes constant growth to keep being aligned on the path towards your upgrade. And I speak about the upgrade as if it's something in the future. As soon as we take action, guys, we are already succeeding. As soon as we take action, we are already succeeding. And breaking through is not a one-time thing. It happens every day. So what do you say? Are you in? Are you ready to break through every day, starting now? It takes some exploration, some clarity, knowing what your next step might be, creating a strategy for purposeful actions. But you know what? It's in your hands. Remember, it takes one decision. No matter how fearful you may be, no matter how unclear the whole path may seem, all you need is one step that can be illuminated now. And it's in your hands. I'd like to invite you into a discovery call with me. There's no obligation whatsoever, but the fact that you've shown up here indicates to me that you're ready to break through, even if you don't know how. So I'd like to help you get clarity. I'd like to help you illuminate your next few steps. I'd like to help you feel motivated, and I'd like to help you feel strong again. I'd like to be that person who believes in you. So I'd like to know more about what's going on for you. And then we can fast track you. So we can speak via Skype, Zoom, or Facebook phone. We can chat and uncover your next steps. Send me an email. If you're ready to chat and explore what's going on for you, send me an email and we'll set up a suitable time for you. I'm urging you to never give up. No matter what has gone on in the past, no matter what you're experiencing now, never, ever, ever ever give up, because if you have a knowing, if you have a vision and a desire, then you have an upgraded life already mapped out for you. Send me an email, maria@upgradewithmariak.com. Let's get you moving forward. Let's